Hey everyone, welcome back to Baking with Becca. This recipe is for a thick caramel filling. It's perfect if you want to fill a sponge cake, cupcakes, or make a caramel tart. Start by weighing out your butter into a pot. You can then add your sugar and your golden syrup. For this recipe, you can use a baking spread or a stalk. You don't need to use a block butter. Make sure that when you use it, it's at room temperature. Otherwise, it's going to take longer once you put it on the heat. Once you've added your sugar and your golden syrup, you can add a whole tin of condensed milk. You can then put your pot on the hob, but only start on a low heat until the butter has melted. You should be using a whisk during this time to slowly turn over the mixture. You need to make sure that the sugar or the golden syrup isn't getting stuck to the bottom of the pan, so just gently stir while you're heating on the low heat. When the butter has almost completely melted, you can turn the heat up to a medium to high heat. Once you do this, you need to make sure that you are standing there and stirring constantly. Be extremely careful with this, as once it starts to bubble, the caramel can splash and it's extremely hot once it reaches its boiling point. Once you begin boiling the caramel, it's going to take about 8 minutes before you can take it off of the heat. You'll notice during this time that it starts to thicken. While it's bubbling, it should be much thicker and lumpier. You just need to continue whisking the entire time. As you're stirring, you might notice small flecks of a darker shade of brown. This is completely fine, and it's just where the sugar is catching slightly, but just continue whisking and make sure that you're pulling down the mixture from the sides and ensuring the whisk is scraping the bottom of the bowl. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a thick layer along the bottom. At this point in the video, you can really notice that the mixture has started to thicken. It's a lot thicker when you put a whisk through it, but also the bubbles are chunkier and they will burn you. If you're worried about it splashing, I'd suggest you either use a bigger pot to make sure that it's going to splash against the sides, or try and use a glove, or you can just be quick. Use those reflexes and get out of the way when it starts splashing. After those 8 minutes, you can take the pot off of the heat. You should have a heat-proof mat ready to put your pot on. It is going to be boiling hot, and you need to continue stirring for another 2 minutes once it's been taken off the heat. So make sure that you've got a mat on the side, put your pot straight onto it, and then continue whisking. Because the pot is still really hot, if you just leave it, then the mixture is going to stick to the sides, to the bottom, and it could burn. You can then leave it to cool completely and grab yourself a funnel, and you can pour directly into a mason jar, or you can pour it into a container, whatever you want to store it in. If you intend to use this on the same day, then make sure that it has come to room temperature completely, or that you've put it in the fridge for a while before you put it on any kind of cake. It's really hot, so it could change the texture of the cake you're adding it to. I would make this in advance and put it in a container and then use it when you need it. The mixture will thicken if you put it in the fridge, so bear that in mind, that this isn't as thick as it's going to be. It will thicken slightly more. Let me know if you use this caramel recipe and what you use it for. I'd love to hear about your creations, and make sure that you subscribe so that you can find my future videos. Thank you so much for watching.